Many believe the Second Amendment only protects muskets and cannons. They argue the Founding Fathers couldn't envision modern firearms. This is a common misconception. The Second Amendment doesn't specify any type of firearm. It states the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The Founding Fathers understood firearm technology would evolve. They chose to protect the right to bear arms generally, just as they did not specify the quill pen or the Cambridge press when writing the First Amendment. The Second Amendment protects a fundamental right. It ensures citizens can defend against tyranny. The belief that repeating firearms didn't exist in the Founding Fathers era is false. Repeating firearms have a long history, dating back centuries. Evidence shows that these weapons existed long before the American Revolution. One example is the revolver. Early versions of this firearm appeared in Europe in the late 1500s. Another example is the Kalthoff repeater. This firearm was invented in 1630. It was a type of repeating rifle. It could fire between 5 and 30 rounds in 20 seconds before reloading, the same as a modern AR-15. This weapon demonstrates the existence of repeating firearm technology well before the American Revolution. The Cookson repeating rifle is another important example. This 18th century firearm could fire multiple rounds. It was designed by James Cookson, an English gunsmith. The Cookson rifle demonstrates the continued development of repeating firearms during the Founding Fathers era. These are just a few examples of early repeating firearms. They prove that the technology was known and available during the time of the Founding Fathers. To claim otherwise is simply idiotic. The existence of these weapons further undermines the argument that the Second Amendment only applies to muskets. Joseph Belton presented a repeating flintlock to the Continental Congress in 1777. This rifle was capable of firing up to 20 shots in 5 seconds. Belton's invention clearly demonstrated the potential of repeating firearms. This presentation is significant for several reasons. It shows that the Founding Fathers were aware of repeating firearm technology. The fact that Belton presented his invention to the Continental Congress indicates he believed it had military value. The Founding Fathers, in turn, considered its potential. This event demonstrates their awareness of advancements in firearm technology. Although the Continental Army did not adopt Belton's flintlock, its presentation to Congress is telling. It shows that the Founding Fathers were interested in and aware of repeating firearms. This fact further challenges the narrow interpretation of the Second Amendment. This historical event provides concrete evidence that the Founding Fathers knew about repeating firearms. They even considered their use in the context of national defense. This knowledge directly contradicts the claim that the Second Amendment is limited to muskets. While repeating firearms were not as common as muskets in the late 18th century, their existence was known. The Founding Fathers were aware of these technological advancements. They discussed the implications of repeating firearms. This is evident in their writings and public discourse. Thomas Jefferson, for example, was known to be fascinated by new technologies. He even owned a polygraph machine, a device ahead of its time. It is highly likely that Jefferson would have been interested in and aware of repeating firearms. Furthermore, the Founding Fathers were engaged in debates about the future of warfare. They understood that technology would continue to advance. They did not intend to limit the right to bear arms to the weapons of their time. The Founding Fathers were forward-thinking leaders. They understood the importance of technological progress. Their awareness of repeating firearms and their discussions about the future of warfare demonstrate their intent to protect the right to bear arms broadly. The Second Amendment's true scope. The Second Amendment is about the right to defend oneself and one's freedoms. The Founding Fathers knew this right is essential to a free society. A well-armed citizenry deters tyranny. They understood technology would evolve. The Second Amendment protects the right to bear arms broadly. It remains essential to a free society today. Section 6. The Lewis and Clark Expedition. Repeating firearms in early America. The Lewis and Clark Expedition, which took place from 1804 to 1806, provides further evidence that repeating firearms were known and used in early America. The expedition, commissioned by President Thomas Jefferson, was equipped with a Girandoni air rifle. This rifle, invented in the late 18th century, could fire up to 20 shots from a tubular magazine. Meriwether Lewis, the expedition's leader, even demonstrated the Girondoni air rifle to Native American tribes they encountered. The rifle's rapid-fire capability impressed the Native Americans, showcasing its tactical advantage. The use of the Girondoni air rifle on the Lewis and Clark expedition demonstrates that repeating firearms were considered valuable tools in early America. This historical example further challenges the notion that the Second Amendment only applies to single-shot muskets. The fact that the Lewis and Clark expedition, a government-funded endeavor, carried a repeating firearm speaks volumes. It shows that such weapons were not considered unusual or out of the ordinary in the early 19th century. Section 7. The importance of historical context. Understanding the Second Amendment today. When interpreting the Second Amendment, it is crucial to consider the historical context in which it was written. The Founding Fathers lived in a time when the threat of tyranny was very real. They had just fought a war of independence against a tyrannical government. They understood that the right to bear arms was essential for the preservation of liberty. They also knew that technology would advance. Other repeating firearms of the time were Danish flintlocks. Invented in 1646, these guns could fire 30 shots without reloading. And the fasting rifle. Invented in 1774, this rifle could fire 18 to 20 shots a minute. To limit the Second Amendment to only the weapons of their time would be to disregard their intent. The Founding Fathers chose their words carefully. They wrote the Second Amendment in broad terms to ensure its relevance for generations to come. To understand the Second Amendment today, we must view it through the lens of history. We must recognize the Founding Fathers' wisdom in ensuring that the right to bear arms remain protected, regardless of technological advancements. Section 8. The role of volley guns in early America. Volley guns played a unique role in the early American colonies, serving as a bridge between single-shot firearms and the more advanced repeating firearms. These early multi-barrel weapons were designed to fire multiple shots simultaneously or in quick succession, offering a significant tactical advantage in battle. The design of volley guns varied, but they often featured several barrels arranged in a cluster or a row. When fired, these guns could unleash a devastating burst of firepower, making them highly effective in certain combat situations. One of the most notable examples is the knock volley gun, a 7 or 14-barreled flintlock firearm developed in the 18th century. It was initially intended for use by the British Royal Navy, but found its way into the hands of colonial forces. Despite their impressive firepower, volley guns had their drawbacks. They were heavy, cumbersome, and difficult to reload quickly. The simultaneous discharge of multiple barrels also produced significant recoil, making them challenging to handle. However, in the right circumstances, such as defending a fixed position or delivering a surprise volley, these weapons could be incredibly effective. There are recorded instances of volley guns being used by colonial forces during the American Revolutionary War. For example, they were reportedly employed in the defense of fortifications and during naval engagements. Their ability to deliver a concentrated burst of fire made them valuable in repelling enemy assaults and breaking through defensive lines. The impact of volley guns on military tactics was notable. They introduced the concept of rapid, concentrated firepower, which would later influence the development of more advanced repeating firearms. While volley guns were eventually phased out in favor of more practical and efficient weapons, their legacy lives on in the evolution of military technology. Understanding the history and use of volley guns helps us appreciate the ingenuity and adaptability of early American forces. It also highlights the founders' knowledge of more than just single-shot muskets. Section 8. The legacy of the Second Amendment, protecting the right to bear arms. The Second Amendment is a cornerstone of American freedom. It guarantees the right of individuals to protect themselves, their families, and their freedoms. It is a right that has been fiercely defended throughout American history. The Second Amendment stands as a reminder of the importance of individual liberty. It serves as a bulwark against tyranny and a guarantee of a free society. The Founding Fathers understood that the right to bear arms is not about hunting or sport shooting. It is about the fundamental right of self-defense. It is about ensuring that the people have the means to resist oppression. The Second Amendment is as relevant today as it was over 2 centuries ago. It is a testament to the foresight of the Founding Fathers and their commitment to securing liberty for all Americans. It is our duty to uphold and defend this right for ourselves and for future generations. Keep your head down and your powder dry.